Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, Truth Be Told, with some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Now, just look at the social media today. If you have seen, Rahul's trip to United States of America is one of the top trending subjects. And the way BJP and its troll army have tried to project the entire trip, there are some cliches which are being used for Rahul Gandhi. Say, for example, Rahul Gandhi is an anti-national. He's against reservation. He's pro-China. He doesn't understand RSS. He gets his pictures clicked with some anti-India forces like Ilan Omar, Barbara Lee, or Ro Khanna. So all these controversies have got generated because seemingly BJP has not tried to understand the context in which Rahul Gandhi has spoken, but that context has been distorted. One of the clips have been made viral with a narrative that Rahul Gandhi is working against India. Now, the big question is, why is BJP making a hue and cry about Rahul's trip to America? Why is BJP calling the leader of the opposition anti-national? Is this insecurity on display? Or would you say that BJP is really worried as to what it will say after Rahul Gandhi returns back to India? Now, you've seen that the Sikh remark which Rahul Gandhi made, now there are protests happening outside Rahul and Sonia Gandhi's residence. Just this evening, those reports were coming out. So we'll try and find out answers to all these questions. Joining me now is a very special panel today. With us is Mr. K. Alphons, who's a former Rajya Sabha MP from BJP. He's in New York right now. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. We have Neerja Chowdhury, the veteran author and columnist, joins us. Neerja, thank you so much for joining. Javed Ansari joins us, veteran journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Javed. We have Pushparaj Deshpande, who's the author of the book called Bharat Jodo Yatra, and he works closely with the India Alliance. And we have Professor Ajay Gudavarthy, who joins us from Jawaharlal Nehru University. Thank you so much, Ajay, for joining. Now, let me begin today's conversation with Mr. Alphons, because there are lots of questions to be asked of BJP. Now, do you think, Mr. Alphons, that Rahul Gandhi, if he says that we will scrap reservation if India becomes a fair place, and then he says India is not a fair place, and then he explains that, you know, the tribals, they are getting 10 paisa out of 100, then Dalits getting 100 paisa out of 10 paisa out of 100. So this is how he explains. But what does the BJP troll army do? It clips out a portion where he says, we will scrap reservation. And then a narrative is rolled out that Rahul Gandhi is against reservation. Do you think this is justified? And yes.
Neelu, in a democracy, every citizen is permitted to say what he wants, to write he wants, meet whomever he wants. But the problem is these rights are subject to constitutional restrictions which have been imposed, and the constitution imposes such restrictions. But if you are the leader of the opposition and you think yourself to be a potential prime minister, I think it carries a lot of responsibility on your head to be responsible. But fortunately for us, I'm in New York for the past 1 week. Forget about the mainline media. Even the fringe media hasn't reported even a comma of what he's saying. I mean, as far as the US is concerned, he's completely irrelevant. He can say whatever he wants. But the point, Neelu, is he should learn to be responsible. He's been a member of parliament for 20 years. In fact, last year I had written an article about his performance in parliament for 19 years. How many days he attended parliament, how many questions he asked, how many speeches he ever made, zero mentions, special mentions, all of which is absolutely nil. And then suddenly you wake up, you go abroad. What you do every time you go abroad is you run down the country, you run down achievements.
But Mr. Alphons, sorry to interrupt you, but hasn't Prime Minister done the same on various events? Whether he was in Canada, whether he was in South Korea, he's done it at Madison Square. He's also, did things similar. So then those questions were not asked of the Prime Minister?
See, there is a contest. You was talking about a contest. You see, I think responsibility has to come with a certain position. And today he's in an extremely responsible position. Forget about what happened over the past 19 years, where he said all kinds of things and irrelevant things, contrary to himself. Talk about the reservation. The Congress party has been asking for a caste census. Of course, if you take Bihar, I mean, the 85% of people are below poverty line, are also the backward caste. Does it mean that we need to have 85% reservation? Now he says we should not have a reservation. We have reservation only because tribals and other people are not getting benefits. You know, his own father, the former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, said out of every rupee spent, only 15 paise reaching people. Today, look at Modi. After we opened 45 crore Janthan account, we have transferred 43 lakh crores to the people, to the poorest people of this country without one paisa being stolen on the way. The entire 100% of that money reaching out to people.
Mr. Alphons,
Go abroad.
Mr. Alphons, I'll continue this bit on the reservation, but one more question to you, and then I'll go to the other panelists. That Rahul Gandhi's pictures, get clicked with US Congress lawmakers, and like Ilan Omar, then Barbara Lee, and all these people get clicked. Then the BJP stroll army, and Amit Malviya says that Rahul Gandhi is carrying out an anti-India agenda. Now, what kind of a narrative is this?
See, then if you look at it, the kind of narrative which he conveys abroad about India, about our own achievements, our own country. Number two, the kind of people whom he meets. I mean, it's all people who have been completely anti-India. And the kind of country with which he loves to associate the most, China, with which the Congress party apparently has an MOU. We don't even know what's in the MOU. I mean, you are an Indian. You are the leader of the opposition. We respect you. I was in the parliament. I've been a union minister. We respect the leader of the opposition, but please be responsible. Don't just say things for the sake of getting some kind of attention in the social media. I mean, fortunately, nobody cares for him abroad. As I told you, I've been here for a week. There's not even a comma written about him anywhere in the mainline media, not even in the fringe media. So forget about what he's doing really. But what he's doing is atrocious, unacceptable. This is not what a responsible leader should be doing.
All right. Now let me get in. Yes, I'll come to you, Javed. I was coming to you only. How would you respond to what KJ Alphons has just said? Yes, Javed, unmute yourself. Yeah.
I have the highest regard for Mr. Alphons, but with due respect, I need to state that he's contradicting himself on the question of reservations. What has Rahul Gandhi said, which is drastically different from what the RSS chief Mr. Bhagwat has said on reservation? Mr. Bhagwat has said precisely the same things. That reservations will continue till inequalities, till discrimination is there. Once that's finished, we will do away with reservations. That's precisely what Rahul Gandhi said. We will do away with reservations, so provided inequalities, discrimination, we will do away with reservations once there is a level playing field. Now, how is that qualitatively different from what the RSS chief has said? But Mr. Alphons has joined the BJP and he speaks with the passion of a fresh convert, but he will never refer to that. Either both of them are wrong or both of them are right. It can't be you can't have double standards in this. And if meeting Ilhan Umar, or I disagree with a lot of the position she holds, but if meeting Ilhan Umar in a room full of other people is an anti-national act, then what about meeting people who have sent insurgents into India, who stabbed us in the back and who allowed a Kargil to take place? How about landing up uninvited to their place for a wedding? Is that an act of nationalism, patriotism? What about inviting the ISI, the perpetrator? The world knows that they are the ones who orchestrate, plan, and execute these anti-India terrorist attacks. Yet you invite them to Pathankot. So it's like inviting a dacoit to probe a dacoity that he has committed. But that's a national act because it's Mr. Alphonse party which is doing it. So that's
I'll
it.
come to you, Mr. Alphonse. I'll come
That's
to
an
you.
act of nationalism.
I
No,
think Alphonse
we
wants to
can't have
respond.
double standards. If you
Right.
leave, I mean, left to me, I believe in the old. I would be very happy if we revert to the old convention that politicians, when they visit, when they go abroad, leave Indian shores, will not talk of domestic politics. I have traveled with several prime ministers, Manmohan Singh being the last one, who have refused categorically to comment on on domestic politics on foreign shores. I wish we revert back to that convention. But also, let's not forget who broke that convention, who started it, and was that a truthful statement to say that under previous governments till 2014 people were ashamed of being Indians, they were tearing up their passports, whereas Mr. Alphonse government has on the floor of the house admitted that that extraordinary number of Indians have been have renounced their Indian citizenship more than ever before.
Right. Okay, Mr. Alphonse has raised his hand. You wanted to respond, and then I'll go to Neerja and Pushparaj then. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Javed is a highly respected journalist, and I exactly agree with what he said. Let's bring back, respectability to Parliament, to our dialogue, to be open. But one thing you see, Javed you see, it is not exactly the same thing when the Prime Minister of India, the government of India, negotiates with all kinds of people, including our enemies. That's our job. That's part of our absolutely governance agenda that we talk to everybody, including ISI, including whoever is our enemy. That's not exactly the position with the leader of the opposition. He's not the government, although he is, of course, also part of the government in a way when he's in the parliament as leader of the opposition. But you don't have a mandate to be governing or talking to the ISI or to the enemies of the country when you are a leader of the opposition. Okay, fine, have a dialogue, but you see, don't run down the country. That's what I'm saying. We have done a lot. Do we ever want to be the wastebasket of the world and keep telling the world, hey, look here, we are rotten? Who is ever going to respect us? I mean, look at it, Javaji. In the past 5 years, even I've written a book last year called Accelerating India. The kind of infrastructure we have built for the poor people in this, 11 crore toilets, I mean, about 4 crore houses, your Ayushman Bharat, LPG connections. I mean, the kind of incredible stuff which we have done for the poor people of this country. Eventually, I agree with you. Yes, we can do it with reservation only when we have these huge inequalities, done away with. But is it going to happen in the next 50 years? Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. I'm aware because I've been in the IAs, I've been an MLA, MP, Union Minister. We've seen the kind of inequality which exists in this country, and that's going to last for a long time. But the government is trying its best because I think we have
All
done
right.
an incredible job in creating infrastructure, and we've got to be proud of what we have achieved,
All right.
Javad.
All right, Mr. Alphonse, but I'll go back to your earlier submission and I'll come to Pushparaj because we need some concrete answers on this. Now, what Mr. Alphonse initially said that Rahul Gandhi has denigrated India and he's doing domestic politics on foreign soil. That was one point. Second point, he said that Rahul Gandhi is inviting interference of foreign sources, including that's what is said on the social media, not Mr. Alphonse said, but this is what the BJP troll army is also saying that RG is inviting interference of foreign sources, including the George Soros. Then the third allegation which the BJP troll army has made is the fact that BJP says Rahul Gandhi is pro-China and Indian National Congress has a secret MOU with China. Now, please respond to these allegations, Pushparaj.
Hi, Neelu. Thank you for having me on your show, and a very good evening to my fellow panelists and our viewers. I find it a bit rich that the BJP is hectoring anyone on how one should conduct oneself abroad. Even as Javed Saab said, Prime Minister Modi has breached multiple Lakshman Rekhas abroad. Issuing any statesmanship, he was the first Prime Minister to repeatedly attack the opposition in various nations, in Madison Square in 2014, in Denmark in 2022, in Canada in 2015, also in UAE in 2015, in Oman in 2018. I won't belabor the point in the interest of brevity, but the bottom line is it is Prime Minister Modi who began transporting domestic politics on foreign soil. But even more problematically, when it comes to the issue of denigrating India, Prime Minister Modi said Indians were ashamed of India in Shanghai in May 2015. In the same month in Seoul in South Korea, a Prime Minister said, and I quote verbatim, people used to feel they have committed a sin in their past life, and hence are born in India. Niluji, even though we are ideological and political opponents, Prime Minister Modi is still our Prime Minister. I'm very surprised that our Prime Minister is insulting the achievements of the last 75 years of multiple governments. Not just that, he's also insulting the contributions of our freedom fighters, our parents, our grandparents, and our great grandparents who have sacrificed their blood and sweat and even lives in building this great nation. That's the first point. Secondly, if the BJP is so insistent that nations should not interfere in each other's sovereignty, something, by the way, I sincerely agree upon, why was Prime Minister Modi campaigning for a candidate in the USA? Why does the BJP overseas unit actively campaign for right-wing parties and candidates in various nations? And why is the BJP IT cell mudding the politics in various nations, as it reportedly did in Leicester last year? Doesn't this tantamount to interference in the politics of other nations? Doesn't this compromise our relationships with other progressive governments? And even more problematically, does this not invite similar hostile action from governments elsewhere? And the third thing is about this China issue that you have said. Now, the thing is that this is a very complicated issue. They have been talking about a secret MOU that Congress party signed with China in 2008. I want to give you some facts on this matter. The BJP leader and lawyer Mahesh Jethmalani ji had argued a petition in the Supreme Court on this exact same issue in August 2020. A bench headed by CGI Bobde, Justice Bopanna, and Justice, I think it was Ramasubramaniam, the last person, I'm not sure about the last justice, smacked down this petition as absurd and said that the allegations were baseless. And if they continue to put this petition forward, they will penalize them. You know what the petitioners did? They withdrew it. If there was any truth to this MOU story, why didn't they let the Supreme Court examine the matter? Plus, it's been 10 years since BJP and his government, 11 years now. If there was any malfeasance, they would have acted against it by now. So clearly, it's all manufactured melodrama to obfuscate and distract the nation. But my
No, but
question to
you don't agree. You don't agree that Rahul Gandhi has made any political mistakes in America?
I don't think so. What he said, even the issue about when he's meeting someone, see, you meet many people in public life. He met a political delegation. One of those delegates happened to be represented Omar. Now, that doesn't mean that you necessarily endorse their views. I mean, he often meets Advani ji. Rahul Gandhi has met Advani ji and Gadkari ji. Yesterday, he praised Prime Minister Vajpayee in the press club. That doesn't mean that he necessarily endorses their views blindly. See, in the BJP, it might be that a dialogue means blind endorsement, but a dialogue can also be just a dialectic, a respectful dialectic. You may disagree, right? That is the first thing. And the second thing is, I mean, even this issue about the Sikh issue that has came up, if you hear the statement, he's saying that minority rights should continue to be respected. And as an illustration, he pointed to a Sikh sitting there saying that should he continue to be able to wear his turban and kadaf. Now, the fact of the matter is, what people have been arguing about is BJP's track record on minority rights, especially Muslim rights. 7.38 lakhs have been Muslims have been rendered homeless because 1.5 lakhs have been demolished by bulldozers, often without due process, not to mention crimes against minority Muslims through mob lynchings and so on and so forth. My point is, this is the criticism of the BJP is not criticism of the nation. BJP is not India and India is not BJP. That is my larger point.
Right. Let me get in a quick response from Mr. Alphons and then I'll go to Neerja. Yes, Mr. Alphons, you want to respond to what Pushparaj has just said?
See, Neelu, it's all about being responsible. It's all about a dialogue being there, global dialogue about democracy. All that is fine. I'm not saying anything of that is wrong at all. I've always stood for the citizen, for freedom of speech. I even got suspended on that behalf, when I was in the service. And therefore, I've always stood up for freedom of speech and expression. But all that I'm saying is, please be responsible, especially when you go abroad. I think we have a mandate from the people of this country. We respect Rahul Gandhi as a leader of the opposition. He's very much part of the entire parliamentary process. He is highly regarded, in the parliament as leader of the opposition. So when you go abroad, see, we are not the richest country in the world. Our per capita income is still not one of the highest. But we have tried extremely hard over the past 10 years to make sure that the money which is spent really reaches people. We have done that, and these are all quantifiable figures. When I say we constructed X number of toilets, given X number of gas connections, X number of people have been treated under Ayushman Bharat, and there are 100 other things which you're talking about. These are all quantifiable figures. And Mr. Deshpande, your own Prime Minister, Rahul's father said, out of a rupee spent, only 15 paise is reaching people. We're trying to change that kind of a dialogue and say, let us take care of the poor people of this country. Let's all work together, not run it down. Come out with ideas, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, on how to make the delivery better. Come on. He's a young guy. I mean, especially in this digital world, couldn't he have come out with 10 suggestions on how digital India could be better? Can't it be?
All
Can't
right.
that just
Right.
one
Yes.
substance is
Let me come to
different
Neerja.
from
I'll come to you,
after
Pushparaj.
we
I'll come to you in
after
your
we
second round, then you can
after
answer
we
Mr. Al.
LOP? Tell me one speech in which he's made substantial suggestions on improving governance or delivery. Please tell me, is this the way to go about it?
No, but I'll take a cue from what you said that he should have behaved responsibly. Now, I want to understand from Neerja. Neerja, would you say that Rahul Gandhi's interactions in United States were irresponsible? He made some political mistakes. That is what Mr. Alphons is hinting at, and he's tried to defame the country. In your assumption, do you think that Rahul Gandhi did so?
Look, Rahul Gandhi's visit this time was widely awaited and followed because he was going abroad for the first time as leader of the opposition. And what he would say there, you and I, we've gone through his speeches on YouTube and followed them for that very reason. Now he was more confident, he was more articulate than he has been. He tried to articulate an alternative vision of India, inclusive India, where there is equity. All that he's done. Love in politics, which got him applause in whichever audience he spoke about it. But, there are 2-3 things that the BJP has picked up. And Rahul Gandhi, let's face it, is equal to controversy today. No matter what he would have said, no matter how sanitized his words, he would have caught it controversy because Rahul Gandhi is Rahul Gandhi in Indian politics today. And the BJP sees him as a red rat. Now, 3 things, yes, where I feel on China, he said there is no unemployment in China. Factually not correct. And therefore, the BJP has latched on to his batting for China. I think that's a political kind of point they want to use this opportunity to make. Number
Yes.
2, the Sikh thing. Now I wrote it out. The Sikh thing was misplaced as an example. The fight is about whether a Sikh is going to be allowed to wear his turban in India, he says, or a kara in India, or he as a Sikh is going to be able to go to Gurdwara. That's what the fight is all about. Now, I don't know of the Sikhs not being allowed to wear a turban. I don't know of a single example in India today. Yes, in 1984, we gave shelter to friends of ours who were Sikhs. And they were very afraid to wear the turbans at that time.
Before
We
you
all
also said,
for their lives. So that was a period under Congress rule. And that's a period will take a long time to live down. So when the Sikhs in the BJP are agitated, they have a cause to be agitated because it's a wrong analogy. Had he talked about the Muslim in the train, 72-year-old, who was heckled and beaten up, or the other cases of lynching and the Muslims feeling insecure, that's a absolutely appropriate analogy today. Therefore, again, why he was doing it, why does Rahul Gandhi, what we call indiscretion, politicians do they make indiscretions or again and again and again, or is there a method to the madness? Many people are asking this. The third thing is on reservation, which is absolutely, Javed is absolutely right. He said exactly what Mohan Bhagwat has said. And he said it more mildly, in fact, than Mohan Bhagwat. Mohan Bhagwat said, as long as there's discrimination in society, reservations must continue, if necessary, for the next 200 years. Rahul Gandhi says Congress would think of scrapping reservations when India is a fair place. And that is not the case now. So he's not making a case for scrapping. To be fair to him, he's not making a case for scrapping reservation. In fact, everything he said about caste census gives you the impression that he would like to increase the quota of reservations within services, within government, for the 90% that he repeatedly talks about. But yes, just to quickly wind up, should a politician like him speak about national affairs? If you go to a university anywhere in the world and we are a democracy, he should be able to answer questions very honestly of people who are studying India, who are interested in India. Why should he be gagged, you would say, on the one hand? And yet, the prime minister or the leader of the opposition on foreign soil, criticizing each other and domestic politics playing out on foreign soil. Maybe, as Javed was saying, other prime ministers have not done it, other senior people have not done it. Probably is best avoidable. But to say that he's anti national, that he's a security risk, I would say no. He has criticized the government. He may be anti government, but he's not anti national because he's criticized the government.
Right. So the very fact that, yes, Javed, yes, you wanting to make a point.
One small point: the issue that Neerja flagged, the question of if he had mentioned Muslims, it would have been the right analogy. Perhaps the reason he didn't mention Muslim was because he laid himself open to accusations of abusement. The moment he mentioned the M word, they would have said, "Look, he's playing the appeasement card even on foreign soil."
All right. Now, let me come to Ajay Gudavarthy, and I know Pushparaj is also wanting to make a point. I'll come to you. But Ajay, what would you say to the big, if you look at the whole picture in totality, the big hue and cry which BJP and its troll army has made over Rahul Gandhi's trip, do you think that this hue and cry is coming out more because of insecurity, because of the rising stature of Rahul Gandhi? Yes, Ajay.
Apart from this, has been Neelu, a regular time-tested strategy of the BJP, not just when Rahul Gandhi is abroad, but Rahul Gandhi when he speaks in parliament. This has been the time-tested strategy of BJP when Mr. Modi was in Gujarat. When you say Gujarat has malnutrition, they say Gujarat ka asmita has hurt. When you say India has poverty, 80 crore people are living in ration, they would say that India's pride is hurt. The point is that once you begin to distort, and this distortion is very dangerous. I mean, this nitpicking can go on whether he chose the right word, whether he chose wrong words. That's that apart. But the essence of what BJP is doing is to essentially distort what Rahul Gandhi is doing. And this does not begin or end with Rahul Gandhi. When farmers protested, they were Sikh farmers, and then they were referred to as Khalistanis. When students protest, they are referred to as jihadis. When Dalits protest in Bhima Koregaon, they are called Maoists. So there is this continuous distortion that is happening of producing false imageries of genuine protests and genuine concerns. That is Indian democracy, that we have stopped discussing problems of India. And Rahul made a very brave statement when he said India is not a fair place. And it takes guts for a politician who's running electoral politics to say this, that India is not a fair place, and one should work towards making India a fair place. Does that make sense, or does it make sense like what Mr. BJP's minister in Rajasthan today gave a statement that it is our ancestors who discovered America and not Columbus? Does that make more sense? Does that have that fake claims? Does that add to Indian pride, or is it that?
No, but the larger point which BJP is making is that why is he saying all this to defame India on foreign soil? That's also the larger point.
It's not defaming. What is defaming? I mean, today we are in a global internet era. What you say today in India travels across globe, right, on internet. You don't have to be in United States to say this. To say that Indian democracy has certain challenges, and he said that there's a growing problem of unemployment. Therefore, you need to focus on manufacturing sector, which is what even Mr. Modi said, that Made in India program. Is that defaming India? Why is Mr. Modi talking about Made in India? Because there is unemployment. Mr. Modi now talks about 80 crore ration. That means we are poor. Is that defaming India? I mean, what are we talking? At the heart of this, Neelu, is not just about Rahul Gandhi, but there's a deep contempt for poor and suffering. That you're making suffering unnameable. But any kind of suffering that is, if it's mentioned, if you say that this is defaming, today Gujarat, being the most developed state in terms of GDP, is right at the bottom 5 states in terms of human development. Take primary literacy, take malnutrition. If I were to say this today in this show, do I become anti-Gujarati? Am I hurting Gujarati Asmita? I mean, this is a ridiculous thing in modern democracy. Democracy is meant for public debate and public reasoning. And Rahul Gandhi is initiating. And I differ with others who have said that Sikh was a wrong example. Because Sikhs have been called Khalistanis when they were as farmers protesting in this nation. It's not just about Muslims. Students have been called jihadis. So it doesn't end. It doesn't end, begin or end with Muslims. Anybody who's protesting today becomes anti-national. Any anti-government statement which is part of any legitimate modern democracy becomes anti-national. And that is the bigger problem. And with skirting, that's why Rahul has to make these statements. And on reservations, I think he said exemplary thing that we are not a fair place. As long as we are not a fair place, reservation has to continue. What can be more sensible than that? I mean, to say, distort that and say it's about scrapping reservation, that is the bigger problem. Why is BJP distorting? BJP can have a legitimate criticism of Rahul Gandhi. Maybe he is getting some things wrong. You might have a legitimate criticism. Why are we distorting public debate? This is the question, I think, and at the heart of this distortion is anti-democratic. And it is also anti-poor, I must say, because any suffering that you might mention about India becomes anti-national, which is a very, very dangerous thing, because that's how monopoly capitalism, you're indirectly justifying monopoly capitalism, you're indirectly justifying growing inequalities. You're simply saying, don't speak about it. If you speak, you're anti-national. This is a very, very dangerous trend. And this is what Mr. Modi's governance did in the last 10 years. It is legitimate on our part as citizens to say, look, these are the sufferings. When we democracy downgraded India on the democracy front, Ministry of External Affairs released a document saying that we are mother of democracy. Vaishali, we had democracy. Fine. If we were such a great democracy, why are we being downgraded? Why is our media being controlled? Why are universities under siege? Is this an unfair point to raise? I mean, is this saying this, does it make India? I mean, point is, look at the distortion. Doing is not a problem. Saying that somebody is doing it becomes a problem. Malnutrition is not a problem. Therefore, even in Mr. Modi's parliamentary preparatory speeches to his candidates, he always says we should come across as being pro-Dalit. It's not that you need to be pro-Dalit. You need to come across as being pro-Dalit. So this whole business of legitimizing optics, legitimizing distortion is the bigger question at the heart of democracy, rather than doing this nitpicking whether Rahul said the right thing, did he use the right language, did he use the right example. I don't think it's a very misplaced concern.
All right. Now, let me get in brief remarks, and then towards the end, I'm going to take the final response from Mr. Alphons, because he would have heard everyone by that time. Pushparaj, to you first. You were raising your hand, and I wanted to come to you that time, but Neerja and Ajay were waiting for a long time. So now respond to whatever Mr. Alphons has been saying. And at the heart of the debate, what Ajay was making a point that it's anti-democratic, it's anti-poor. But beyond this, just because Rahul Gandhi is asking some very tough questions from the government, he's trying to project that these questions from the government are not being answered despite the opposition actively asking these questions. So is that the reason that BJP is rattled? Yes, Pushparaj.
Neeluji, I agree with Professor Gudavarthy in what he argued. And the fact of the matter is that, yes, people could argue that, neither the government nor the opposition should talk about these issues on foreign side, that has been the norm. But the fact of the matter is that we've crossed the Rubicon in 2014 when Prime Minister Modi spoke in Madison Square Garden and attacked the opposition, and has been doing that multiple times in multiple foreign visits. I have counted at least 16, and then I lost count. My point is that let's not be living in cuckoo land any longer. We're living in a very different world. The norms and protocols that existed before 2014 have been assigned to the dustbin of history by the BJP government. That's the first thing. The second thing is the honorable speaker from the BJP, he made a point about why doesn't Rahul Gandhi substantively engage with the BJP on how we can further the national interest. That's a perfectly legitimate point. He did try to do that when he made the structural point that we need to enhance our manufacturing base and not exclusively rely on consumption. In that context, he said that India first needs to catch up with China, Vietnam, and Bangladesh in manufacturing and then outstrip them. That is how we will redress our employment. He, in that context, spoke about China's employment figures. Now, the fact of the matter is BJP has picked on that one particular point, made it a reductionist argument, and completely disregard everything else. Because let me put the facts of the matter, because I've been studying this for the last multiple months. The GVA, the gross value added of manufacturing, which was 17%, about 17% for 25 years since 1991, and Professor Arun Kumar and Professor Himanshu and many other, Professor Santosh Mehrotra and others have spoken about this, John Drays and others, Arvind Subramaniam, their own EAM, the advisor, the scientific economic advisor to the government,
Economic.
has said that
Chief
from
economic
2016, from 2016 it dropped for 5 years till a low of 13% in 2021. And now this was not because of COVID. COVID happened much later. This was because of policy-induced shocks like demonetization and GST. It climbed back since then a little bit, but it is in spite of the BJP's policies. Now, because of this, India, despite this Make in India campaign, lost 2.4 crore jobs in the manufacturing sector, which has not happened since 1991. So clearly, you failed because Make in India failed because you focused on capital-intensive industries, not on labor-intensive industries. Now, here is RG actually engaging with you in a substantive, constructive debate. If you and he's signaling to large conglomerates saying that if India wants to lead in manufacturing, you please come and make it India. And this is where BJP should have actually said, if you know what would have been really politically smart on the BJP, that Rahul Gandhi is praising Make in India. He's also saying the same thing that we have done. Now let's focus on how to do it. BJP doesn't do that. It was so reductionist, this argument. Arey, China ka figure galat hai. Arey, he's praising China. Arey, what nonsense is this? I mean, I agree with Professor Gudavarthy. This is just reductionist and actually vitiates the political discourse. Back to you, Neelu.
All right. Now, let me get in brief comments again now from the other panelists. Javed, I'll come to you now. That this entire heartburn, why they've just gone against Rahul Gandhi, is it because of the rising stature of Rahul Gandhi? And have they realized that now he's also becoming a force to reckon with? And globally now he's being recognized. So is that the reason, Javed, you see that, BJP is so rattled?
Without an iota of doubt. He's got under the skin, he's breathing down the neck, they're looking over their shoulder, and after June 4th, the dramatics on the situation on the ground situation has changed dramatically. And come November, that notion, that idea will be reinforced. There is no doubt that the ground is now slipping from under the BJP's feet. And Rahul has risen in public esteem. And Rahul Gandhi, when he finally makes it, the first thank you card he must send is not to the Congress workers, but to Mr. Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers and the BJP's office bearers. The way they've criticized, they've tried to vilify, distort, run him down, insult, humiliate him, everything, victimize him, everything is added to that. He's become a bechara who speaks, who's showing them the mirror because he's speaking truth to power, and therefore that's the public perception. I know a lot of BJP people will not like it, but that's the public perception. The more you hound him, the more you victimize him, the greater political advantage that will accrue to him.
All right. Now, Neerja, from the entire discussion, now I want to ask you one question. Who do you think is at a greater fault? Whether it is BJP or it's Rahul? You said that, of course, calling him anti-national is too exaggerated. And, this shouldn't have been done. But you also pointed out mistakes which probably were done by Rahul. So who do you think is more at fault in this entire narrative which has been woven around the US trip of Rahul Gandhi? Yes, Neerja.
Look, as leader of the opposition should not make even factual mistakes because he has a large enough team to help him. And particularly when he goes abroad to universities abroad, one wouldn't like either the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, to make those kind of factual errors. Now, who's at fault? I would have thought, what I felt, if I'm really honest, I would have liked Rahul Gandhi not only to give his alternative vision for his party and the opposition, I would have liked him to give his blueprint of that alternative for India. What is he going to do on the economy? How is he going to create more jobs? What is the action plan? He talked about manufacturing, of course. The PM has also talked about manufacturing. How is he going to go further? What about our neighbors? How are we going to make friends again with our neighbors? What is going to be our stand towards China, towards the United States of America, towards Europe? I would have liked him to have spelled all that out because he is the potential prime minister and people are viewing him in that light. So in the country, the audience that was watching him, and abroad, the audience that interacted with him, Mr. Alphons is right. Maybe the mainstream media did not write about him, and therefore the BJP should not pay much attention at all. And I would have liked Rahul also, he's covered there what he's covered back home in these election speeches. But to have
True.
moved on in the narrative, and for BJP to also take it in its stride. After all, we are a very loud, cacophonous democracy, and it will become very dull if we have to choose, every single word we have to say and think about it. So I think let the BJP also ride it, take it in its stride.
Right. Okay, Ajay, now I'll come to you now that since Amit Shah has also called Rahul Gandhi Deshdrohi, then another cabinet minister, Shivraj Chauhan, has called him a Deshdrohi. Now, can we expect something like some kind of an FIR or some kind of a stringent action now being planned on the part of BJP? I'm going to ask this question to Alphons also, but can we expect BJP to do this and, go to that exaggerated extent?
Neelu, don't expect me to think like BJP. It's very difficult to think what they would do. But the largest question is this, that what the point is that you can always question Rahul Gandhi. As the Neerja ji rightly pointed out, the right question you should have asked Rahul Gandhi is, you are criticizing the problem of unemployment. What is the alternative do you have? What is that Congress has done in Congress-led states? What way have you solved the problems? Congress came with only internship program as a way out. One can criticize that this is a very inadequate program. These can be legitimate criticisms, but we have to understand, why does BJP do what it does? Not only do they want to insult Rahul Gandhi, but the conspiratorial language is also because they do not want a public discussion on unemployment. We should understand this deeper problem that BJP poses. One can always criticize Rahul Gandhi. I mean, many of his statements, inadequate ideas, one can always pose a question. But the point, BJP never enters into a legitimate debate, whether it's unemployment, whether it is reservations, whether it is religious minorities, whether it is Sikhs. You can always pose, you can always ask for Rahul Gandhi the question of Sikh rights, what question of Sikh, you can always say. But the problem is BJP does not want a legitimate debate on social issues, on education, on employment, on minority. In order to do that, they do double things. They exaggerate the critique and convert it into a conspiracy. Everything that is uttered is not a conspiracy. And this is a very dangerous trend. I don't think we should be lost in the debate of whether Rahul chose the right words. That's much smaller problem for me in terms of the nature of critique. This kind of a hysteria that BJP tries to generate every time we will fight. The very question that you have asked shows in what dangerous situation will they file an FIR? Will they arrest him? And Shivraj said there should be treason on him. Somebody else said that he's an anti. Where are we leading the nation? For every utterance, people don't become anti-national. Why should one be anti-national? I mean, Rahul Gandhi has lived here. He has only this nation to go. No other nation is going to accept him. So we all live here. When we raise, BJP should enter into a legitimate debate. Conspiratorial language is an attempt to criminalize public sphere and the end scuttle democracy. And why BJP thinks by only scuttling democracy they can garner bigger support is a bigger question that we should debate at some other point.
All right. So the concluding comments now to Mr. Alphons. Mr. Alphons, will BJP move on from what and how it has been functioning, distorting the thing, escaping from the real questions? Can BJP move on from here?
See, Neelu, all my life in the IAS as an MLA or as a minister, MP, as a social worker. In fact, I took leave from IAS and worked in the slums of Delhi for a year after being commissioner DDA. I've been a doer. I have no respect for people who just talk, Neelu. He's been in public life for 20 years as a member of parliament. Please, for heaven's sake, don't just criticize. I mean, as Neerja ji says, come out at least with a vision, even if you are not doing anything. Just don't keep criticizing. Please, where is your vision of India? You tell me. South Korea and China were way below India in 1960 in terms of per capita income, in terms of national wealth, and look at the way they have taken off. For 75 years, Neelu, I mean, this party wrecked the country, and today Rahul Gandhi is talking about going back 100 years. I don't know. Please, Rahul Gandhi, you are still young. Do something with your life. I mean, do something. Read something. And
No,
please
but
come out with a
that
vision.
is for Rahul Gandhi. That is for Rahul Gandhi. You were saying that he should come up with some blueprint. He should come up with a vision. But what I want to ask you is that will BJP move on from distorting the agenda? This is what BJP has been doing, and this is what we have been discussing. So, would you not agree that BJP needs to improvise on this, and it needs to change its strategy now? It's like an overkill now of Rahul all the time.
I think, see, one shouldn't really burn down a bungalow to kill a rat. I mean, as simple as that. Sorry, Mr. Deshpande, I'm not calling anybody a rat or anything. What I'm saying is India has such immense problems to handle, and the government is trying its best. And in terms of creating infrastructure, Mr. Deshpande talked about jobs not being there. Take, for example, the past 1 year, just take 1 year, the kind of investment that is coming to microprocessor sector. In fact, I was the one who raised this issue in the parliament as a member of parliament. And immediately the government picked up and put in $10 billion immediately. I mean, all the big global players are going to be here. I mean, microprocessor industries are heart of everything today, isn't it? So we are doing things. Please help us. Now, Rahul Gandhi should please make a speech in parliament. How can we make things better in the microprocessor industry? Okay, this is what is happening today. Can you come out with 5 suggestions, at least 3 suggestions on how we could do it better? Electronics, we are still importing a lot of stuff from China, and we are also major exporter in the electronics industry in the past 10 years. Can you come out with 10 suggestions as a government? Look here.
Look,
These are
can you come out with 3 suggestions for the BJP troll army, sir? That's my last question to you.
Neelu, please don't get him into trouble. He's one very decent person in the BJP. Please don't get him into trouble.
All right, all right. I'll end the debate here. I don't want Mr. Alphons to get into any kind of trouble, but it was wonderful talking to each one of you today. It was a very, very engaging and a very thought-provoking conversation. And I hope there are learning lessons on both sides, whether it's BJP or whether it's Congress. But it was a wonderful discussion indeed, no, undoubtedly. Thank you so much, Mr. Alphons, Javed Ansari ji, Neerja ji, Pushparaj, Professor Ajay Gudavarthy. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Neelu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.